Still sane, Doctor? So with the collaboration with Rainbow Six Siege, Arknights has their own event stages centered around the new characters of Rainbow Six Siege that were added to the game, which include Ash, Blitz, Frost, and Tech. Okay, I guess I can't really say his name. English.
Rainbow Operator, codename Tachanka. I am ready. Where do you want me?
Anyway, looking at the stages, the gimmick of these stages are that each enemy that you defeat will spawn into essentially slugs. Now, these slugs have a lot higher movement speed than the Originum slugs throughout the main game. So basically the idea and the challenge of these stages is that you can be easily overwhelmed and have these annoying buggers slip through your front line because of how many of them there are. The other mechanic that is in this collaboration is the sandstorm. So on certain stages you'll have these pillars here, and the sandstorm going a certain direction will beat against those, and if your operators are caught within the sandstorm, they will have heavily reduced attack and will take damage over time. And these pillars will defend your operators against the sandstorm, but they will break over time. So let's take a look at an example. So with the sandstorm effect on your operators, some of the enemies on various stages, like the one that I just showed, later on in the stage, you'll get these snipers that have super high attack with at least over 1,000 attack, if not even higher than that, and will pretty much one-shot all of your operators that are not defenders. And the gimmick is that they only fire at units that are in the sandstorm. So really taking mind of where your operators are and which pillars are going to break, making the sandstorm affect your operators later in the stage is very important. So on top of the snipers, there's also what's called infiltrators that will make a hologram of themselves and will allow them to pass through enemies, as well as gaining dodge when they are in the sandstorm. So you need to destroy the holograms in order to make these guys blockable again. And then lastly, of the main stages, is the Essence of Evolution boss, which spawns the tumors. And I have to say that this boss is probably the stupidest boss that they have had us fight up until this point. I made a video covering my autoplay of this boss, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. It does true damage to all your operators on the map, and will continuously summon these after you get the HP low enough. So these slugs are essentially the X3 essence, and they significantly reduce the blocker's attack speed. And the attack speed reduction is like 80%, so unless you have an instant skill or other operators other than the one blocking that can attack these, you can be easily overwhelmed within a matter of seconds with this boss. So definitely one that I was not enjoying trying to farm the grindstones. So here's a short clip of that. Now going over the EX stages, essentially the harder versions of all the enemies will spawn the tumors instead of the regular slugs. So on some of these stages it can be relatively difficult to deal with these slugs in comparison to the normal ones, just because unless you have a lot of good AoE, they can overwhelm you just like in the boss fight. And then a side mention to the Originum mutant has across the board some of the highest stats of any non-boss enemy, with S-rated attack, S-rated defense, and res for the upgraded version. Except surprisingly they have low HP, so if you have a source of true damage or resistance shred or something, they can be easily destroyed with that. So overall, the Originum Dust event, I really enjoyed it. It really took the whole blocking enemies thing to actually be a lot more challenging, because on some of the normal story stages, it isn't really a matter of getting overwhelmed by numbers, depending, of course, where you are in the game and how your account is and everything. I mean, sometimes you can get overwhelmed, but this one really takes that to one notch higher, with having all of these enemies spawning so quickly after defeating enemies, and also giving you a choice of, hey, do I want to kill this enemy right now and potentially get overwhelmed because there's still slugs on the battlefield, and so on. And I was really glad that on this event in particular, AoE casters especially have been super good in this event. Going back to some of these, I think it was the crabs. The rock spiders, there we go, has pretty much no resistance, so they're just super easy to kill with arts damage. And then these guys have no defense and res. So having really high amounts of AoE damage does so well. So it is kind of funny that the AoE casters have been knocked down to being, in the eyes of the community, as being some of the worst archetypes, worst of the archetypes available in Arknights, because they're slow attack speed, high deployment costs, and everything. But in this event, I found them extremely useful, and so if you had gotten Dusk from the previous event, I found her to be extremely good here. So, as a side note, before I end it here, with the Rainbow Six Siege event, we did get the co-op stages defense protocols, but I'm not going to do a video specifically on that, of reviewing it, just simply because I already made a first impressions video of that pretty much covered all my thoughts on it. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this event. Unfortunately, though, because it's a collaboration, the likelihood of getting a rerun is kind of slim. So hopefully you got the operators that you wanted from their specific banner. So with that being said, though, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on this event, and we'll see you in the next one.